Sometimes, the hardest prison to escape isn't made of walls. It's made of feelings rooted in beliefs. And escaping isn't always the best choice. Sometimes, you have to face the darkness to find the light. Zara always believed life was a logical sequence of choices. Study, work, pay bills, repeat. But lately, something inside her screamed that there was more, much more, than that predictable routine. It was as if the world around her was covered by an invisible layer, a perfect illusion no one dared to question. No one, except her. On her computer screen, numbers and codes lined up like obedient soldiers. But to Zara, they seemed to hide secret messages. Each pattern was an unanswered question, a silent invitation to look beyond the obvious. At night, when the city lights flickered like artificial stars, she wondered, what if all this is just a simulation? What if the truth is somewhere else, waiting to be discovered? What Zara didn't know was that her life was about to change forever. One simple click, one unexpected message, and the world she knew would begin to crumble. Welcome to Good Stories Today, your channel for inspiring stories. Listen while you drive, work, or simply seek inspiration. Subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next videos. Because sometimes, the hardest prison to escape isn't made of walls. It's made of feelings rooted in beliefs. And escaping isn't always the best choice. Sometimes, you have to face the darkness to find the light. Chapter 1. The Calm. Before the storm. Zara woke up before the alarm went off. The room was bathed in soft twilight, lit only by the cold glow of the city through the window. She stared at the ceiling for a few seconds, trying to understand why that emptiness insisted on following her every morning. Life looked perfect on paper, but inside, everything was misaligned. The black coffee steamed on the kitchen table as Zara mentally reviewed the day's tasks. Projects, meetings, deadlines, everything organized, everything under control. But behind that order, there was a silent chaos no one could see. She wondered if she was the only one who felt this sense of being trapped in a gear that spins endlessly, without real purpose. Was everyone else pretending as well as she was? On the subway, surrounded by tired faces and eyes glued to screens, Zara observed people as if analyzing a complex code. Every gesture seemed programmed, every smile rehearsed. It was as if everyone was connected to an invisible system, obeying commands no one questioned. And deep down, she feared she was part of that same script, a script she didn't write but followed to the letter. When she arrived at the office, the sound of keyboards and notifications created a mechanical symphony. Zara sat in front of her monitor, diving into endless lines of code. For others, it was just work. For her, it was a mirror of life, logic, repetition, patterns. But that day, something different caught her attention. A tiny detail, almost imperceptible, hidden among the numbers, like a message, like someone was trying to speak to her. She blinked, adjusted her glasses, and read again. Nothing, just code. Maybe it was fatigue, maybe imagination, but the feeling persisted. It was as if the system had a life of its own, as if there was something beyond what the eyes could see. Zara took a deep breath, trying to push away strange thoughts. After all, she was a systems analyst, not the protagonist of a conspiracy theory. Or was she? Chapter 2. The Invisible Call, the click that changed everything. The link opened to a completely black page, with a single sentence in the center. Reality is not what you think. Zara felt her heart race. It was simple, yet disturbing. Before she could close it, a window popped up with an active chat. You've made your choice. Now, get ready. She pulled back in her chair, glancing around as if someone could see her. But she was alone, or at least she thought she was. Messages began to appear, one after another. You live in a system. It controls everything, but there's a way out. Zara typed, hesitant, "Who are you?" The reply came quickly. "Someone who's been where you are. Someone who knows you're ready." Zara swallowed hard. Ready for what? Before she could ask, another line appeared. "Meet me tomorrow, 7 p.m., cafe on 5th Avenue. Tell no one." She slammed the laptop shut, as if that could erase everything. But it didn't. The message burned in her mind like fire. Part of her wanted to ignore it, pretend nothing happened. But another part, the part that always searched for something bigger, knew she couldn't go back. It was the invisible call, and she had just answered. The meeting. The next day was a whirlwind. Zara could barely work. Every notification felt like a sign. Every glance from her coworkers seemed suspicious. At 6:45 p.m., she stood in front of the cafe, hands sweaty, heart pounding. She walked in, scanning for someone who looked different. Then she saw him. A man sitting in the corner, reading a thick, worn book. He looked up and smiled, as if he already knew everything about her. "Zara?" he asked, his voice calm. She nodded, sitting across from him. "Who are you?" He closed the book slowly. "My name is Elias, and I'm here to show you that the world you know isn't real." Zara laughed nervously. "Is this a joke? A game?" Elias tilted his head. "Do you think it's a coincidence you got those messages? Do you think it's chance that you feel something's wrong?" She stayed silent. Because deep down, she knew it wasn't chance. "You work with systems, right?" Elias continued. "Then you know every system has flaws. What you don't know is that the life you live is a system, a code, and you're starting to see the cracks." Zara shivered. "Why me? Why now?" Elias smiled, enigmatic. "Because you asked, maybe not with words, but with your soul. And when someone asks to see the truth finds a way." The choice. Elias placed a small object on the table. It looked like a flash drive, but with a strange symbol engraved on it. "This will show you what's behind the code, but it's not just technology, Zara. It's faith. Without it, you won't survive what you're about to see." She frowned. "Faith? In what?" Elias looked her in the eyes. "In the one who created all this. Because when you discover what's behind it, you'll need to believe there's something greater. Or you'll be lost." Zara held the object, feeling the symbolic weight it carried. It was like standing before a door, and Elias was handing her the key. "If I do this, there's no turning back, right?" Elias shook his head. "No. But you already know you can't keep living like before." Zara took a deep breath, remembering the prayer she whispered the night before. Maybe God was answering, in a way she never imagined. "I accept," she said firmly. Elias smiled, as if he'd been waiting for that. "Then get ready, because truth isn't just information, it's transformation." Zara felt a chill run down her spine. She knew her life was about to change forever, but she had no idea what price she would have to pay. Chapter 3. Between codes and faith. Zara arrived home carrying the object Elias had given her, feeling as if she held a secret powerful enough to change the world. She placed it on the table and stared at it for long minutes, like someone facing a door they're unsure about opening. Her logical mind screamed, "This is madness." But her heart whispered, "It's now or never." She took a deep breath, connected the device to her laptop, and waited. The screen flickered, displaying codes that moved as if they were alive. Lines appeared and vanished, forming patterns she had never seen before. In the center, a sentence began to emerge. "The system is not just technology, it's control." Zara shivered. It was as if someone was speaking directly to her. Then another phrase appeared. To see the truth, you must believe it exists. She closed her eyes, remembering Elias's words. Without faith, you won't survive what you're about to see. Zara wasn't religious, but something deep inside her cried out for help. God, if this is real, guide me, she whispered. When she opened her eyes, the screen had changed. It wasn't codes anymore. It was an image, a city, just like hers, but distorted, as if it were a simulation. People walking in circles, repeating movements, unaware they were trapped. Zara recoiled in her chair, her heart pounding. This couldn't be real, or could it? The sound of a notification broke the silence. A new message appeared on the screen. You're only seeing the surface. Do you want to go deeper? Zara hesitated, then typed, Yes. The reply came instantly. Then prepare to lose everything you know. Before she could react, the screen went black and a voice began to speak, not through the computer, but as if it were inside her mind. Zara, you asked to see. Now you must choose whether you'll believe. She stood up, startled, looking around. Who's there? She asked, her voice trembling. The voice answered calmly. I'm the one who called you, but I'm not Elias. He's just a messenger. The truth comes from above. Zara felt a lump in her throat. Above? The voice continued. From the Creator. The system you live in isn't just human, it's spiritual, and only those who trust in Him can break free. Zara collapsed onto the couch, trying to process everything. It was too much, but deep down, it made sense. It always had. Memories began flooding her mind. Conversations with her grandmother about faith, purpose, and a God who sees beyond appearances. She had buried all that under layers of logic and technology, but now it seemed impossible to ignore. Why me? She whispered. The voice replied, Because you asked, and when someone asks to see the truth, it finds a way. The next morning, Zara woke up feeling like something had changed. The world looked the same, but she wasn't the same. Every face on the street seemed empty, every smile rehearsed. It was as if she could see the cracks in the system, just like Elias said, and that terrified her. Because if everything was an illusion, what was real? Her phone buzzed. It was Elias. Are you ready for the next step? He asked, his voice calm and enigmatic. I think so, she replied, still confused. Then come with me. But know this, it's not just about technology. It's about who you are. They met in an old building, far from the city center. Elias led her through narrow corridors to a room filled with screens, cables, and books. In the center, a handwritten phrase, "The truth sets you free, but first it confronts." You're going to see things that will shake you, Elias said. But don't be afraid. Fear is the system's weapon. Zara looked at him, searching for answers. And if I can't handle it? Elias smiled. You're not alone. You never were. Then he handed her a strange headset. Put this on. It will show you what's behind the code. Zara held the object, feeling the weight of the choice. She knew that after this, nothing would be the same. But she also knew she couldn't turn back. It was time to face the truth, and herself. She put on the headset, and for a moment, everything went dark. Then lights began to appear, forming images that looked too real to be mere projections. Zara saw people trapped in endless routines, like programmed puppets. She saw leaders manipulating information, creating distractions to keep everyone blind. And above all, she saw something that made her tremble, a gigantic shadow hovering over everything, as if it were the source of control. What is that? She asked, her voice breaking. Elias answered firmly, "It's the system, and it doesn't want you to leave." Zara tore off the headset, gasping for air. "Is this real?" Elias nodded. "More real than you imagine, but there's a way out, and it begins with faith." Tears welled up in Zara's eyes. For the first time, she understood that her fight wasn't just against codes or machines. It was against something much greater, and deep down, she knew she couldn't win alone. Chapter 4. The Unexpected Mentor. Zara was still breathless when she removed the headset. The images she had seen wouldn't leave her mind. People trapped, leaders manipulating, a massive shadow looming over everything. "Is this real?" she asked, her voice trembling. Elias nodded, his gaze grave. "More real than you imagine, but it's not something you can fight with codes or weapons. It's a system that controls minds, desires, even people's faith." She frowned, trying to understand. "You're saying all of this is an illusion?" Elias took a deep breath. "Not exactly. It's a reality built to keep you distracted. Social media, consumerism, status, fear, all of it is part of the code. The more you cling to it, the less you see who you really are." Zara shivered. Every word felt like a blade cutting through her certainties. "Why doesn't anyone see this?" she whispered. Elias leaned forward. "Because the system is clever. It doesn't trap you with chains. It traps you with comfort. It makes you believe you're free when, in truth, you're following invisible commands. And when someone starts to question, it uses fear, doubt, and distraction to keep everything as it is." Zara closed her eyes, trying to process it. It was terrifying, and it made sense. "So, what's the way out?" she asked, her voice shaky. Elias smiled, but it wasn't a light smile. "The way out begins inside you. Breaking codes won't matter if you don't break beliefs. Because the hardest prison to escape isn't made of walls. It's made of feelings rooted in false ideas." Zara remembered the words she had read on the screen and felt a lump in her throat. "And if I can't do it?" Elias placed his hand on the table. "You're not alone. You never were." He stood and walked to a shelf full of old books. He pulled out a worn copy and placed it in front of her. "This is the manual the system doesn't want you to read." Zara looked at the cover. "The truth that sets free." "It's a Bible," she said, surprised. Elias nodded. "The most powerful code ever written, not by men, but by the Creator. Everything you've seen is just a shadow of what's happening in the spiritual realm, and only those who understand that can break free." Zara flipped through the pages, feeling a different kind of weight. "You're saying God is the key?" Elias smiled. "He always was. But the system made you believe he's irrelevant, outdated, or just an idea, because if you discover there's a greater purpose, everything collapses. Control ends." Tears welled up in Zara's eyes. For the first time, she understood her fight wasn't just against codes. It was against something much bigger. "Why me?" she asked softly. Elias stepped closer. "Because you asked, maybe not with words, but with your soul. When you started questioning, the Creator heard, and now you have a choice. Keep living in the illusion or face the truth." Zara took a deep breath, feeling the weight of the decision. "And if I choose the truth," Elias replied firmly, "then get ready, because truth isn't comfortable. It will confront everything you believe." Silence filled the room. Zara looked at the headset, the Bible, and Elias. It was as if she stood between two worlds, one she knew and one calling her. "I don't know if I'm ready," she confessed. Elias placed a hand on her shoulder. "No one is. But that's how the journey begins. Not with certainty, but with courage." Zara closed her eyes, searching for strength. When she opened them, she knew she couldn't turn back. "What's the next step?" she asked, her voice firm. Elias smiled, as if he'd been waiting for that. "First, you need to learn to see the system's cracks without getting lost in them. Then, you need to learn to fight, not with weapons, but with truth." Zara nodded, feeling a mix of fear and hope. "And will I succeed?" Elias looked at her seriously. "If you trust, not in me, but in him." Zara gripped the Bible tightly, as if it were a shield. For the first time, she felt she had something solid to hold on to. But she also knew this was only the beginning. Because if everything Elias said was true, the battle ahead would be bigger than anything she had ever faced. And deep down, one question echoed. Am I ready to lose everything to gain the truth? Chapter 5. The First Choice. Zara spent the entire night awake. The Bible lay open on the table, right next to the headset Elias had given her. Every word she read seemed to light something inside her, but also stirred questions she had never asked before. The truth sets you free, but first it confronts you. That phrase echoed like a warning. Because if she chose to move forward, she knew nothing would ever be the same. And deep down, she feared what she might lose. The next morning, Elias called. "Today is the day," he said firmly. "You need to decide." Zara gripped the phone tightly. "Decide what?" Elias paused. "Whether you'll keep living in the comfort of illusion or face the truth. But know this, there's no middle ground." Zara closed her eyes, feeling a lump in her throat. "And what if I'm not ready?" Elias replied calmly. "No one ever is. Courage doesn't come from certainty. It comes from faith." Zara walked through the streets of Manhattan, trying to organize her thoughts. She looked at the people around her, rushing, glued to their screens, trapped in routines that seemed so programmed. Were they inside the system too? Did anyone else notice the cracks? Each step made her feel like she was living in an artificial world, where everything was controlled to keep people blind. And that terrified her, because it meant her entire life could be a lie. When she returned home, a new message appeared on her laptop. "Last chance. Choose now." Zara's heart raced. It was as if the system knew she was hesitating and somehow wanted her to quit. "Why is this so hard?" she whispered, staring at the ceiling. Then she remembered Elias's words. Fear is the system's weapon. And she remembered the prayer she had said days ago. "God, show me the way." Maybe this was the answer. Her phone buzzed. It was Stephanie. "Girl, you disappeared. Are you okay?" Zara hesitated before answering. "I don't know, Steph. I think I'm about to do something that will change everything." Stephanie laughed, trying to lighten the mood. "Change is good, Zara. Just don't do anything crazy." Zara smiled sadly. "Sometimes, crazy is just courage in disguise." They stayed silent for a few seconds until Stephanie said, "Whatever it is, I'm here for you." Zara hung up, feeling a tightness in her chest, because she knew that if she chose the truth, she might have to walk away from everything, even the people she loved. That night, Elias showed up at her apartment. "Well?" he asked, looking straight into her eyes. Zara took a deep breath. "I'm scared." Elias nodded. "Fear is normal, but don't let it make the choice for you." Zara looked at the headset and the Bible. It felt like standing between two worlds, one she knew and one calling her. "If I do this, I could lose everything." Elias answered seriously. "Yes, but you'll gain something no one can take away. Freedom." Tears welled up in Zara's eyes. "And what if I fail?" Elias stepped closer. "You won't fail if you trust." "Not in me, but in him. Zara closed her eyes, searching for strength. When she opened them, she knew there was no turning back. "I choose the truth," she said firmly. Elias smiled, as if he had been waiting for that moment. "Then get ready, because from now on, the system will try to destroy you." He handed her a new device, bigger and more complex. "This will take you to the core of the code, but it's not just technology, it's spiritual. You'll see things that will shake you, and you'll hear voices trying to convince you to quit." Zara held the object, feeling the symbolic weight it carried. "And if I can't do it?" Elias placed a hand on her shoulder. "You're not alone. You never were." Zara connected the device and put on the headset. The screen went black, and a phrase appeared, "Welcome to the core." Then images began to flash, not just of the city, but of people she knew. Stephanie, her co-workers, even her own reflection, with empty eyes, like a puppet. "Is this real?" she asked, her voice trembling. Elias replied firmly, "It's what the system does. It doesn't chain you with locks. It chains you with lies." Suddenly, a voice emerged, soft and seductive. "Zara, you don't have to do this. Go back. Everything can stay the same, comfortable, safe." Zara closed her eyes, trying to block it out. But the voice persisted. "You'll lose everything. Friends, career, stability. For what? For an illusion?" Her heart raced. It felt like she was fighting something invisible, not outside, but inside herself. And in that moment, she remembered the words she had read. "The truth sets you free, but first it confronts you." "I won't give up," she said firmly. The voice laughed, cold and sharp. "Then prepare to suffer." The screen shifted, showing a sequence of codes pulsing like a heartbeat. Elias spoke, serious. "This is the first test. If you can decode it, you'll open the first door. But it's not just logic, it's faith. Because without faith, you won't see the way." Zara took a deep breath, feeling like she was stepping into a battle that wasn't just technological, but spiritual. She began typing, trying to break the patterns. Each line felt like a riddle, each command a trap. The voice kept whispering, trying to distract her. "You're alone. No one will save you." Zara paused for a moment, closed her eyes, and prayed, "God, give me strength." When she opened them, something had changed. The code started to align, forming a phrase. "The truth is in the one who created everything." Zara smiled, feeling an unexpected peace, because in that moment, she understood. She wasn't fighting alone. Chapter 6: Shadows and Light. Zara stood frozen before the dark screen, her heart pounding like a drum. The phrase still echoed in her mind. "The truth is in the one who created everything." But before she could take a breath, the apartment lights flickered and went out. Silence was broken by a metallic sound coming from the hallway. She rose slowly, every muscle tense, as if about to face something she couldn't see. Her phone buzzed with a strange notification. "You crossed the line. Now you'll pay the price." A chill ran down her spine. She rushed to the window and saw drones hovering over the street, like watchful eyes. Each red light seemed aimed at her. "Elias, what's happening?" she asked, her voice trembling. He answered quickly. "The system knows you're out of control. It'll try to scare you, isolate you, make you quit. Don't give in." Suddenly, the apartment door unlocked from the outside. Zara ran to secure it, but footsteps echoed in the corridor. "They're coming," Elias said urgently. "Get out now." Zara grabbed the Bible, the device, and bolted down the emergency stairs. Every step felt like a test of courage. Her heart pounded so hard she could barely hear her own thoughts. But one phrase kept ringing. Do not fear. I am with you. When she reached the street, Elias was waiting in a black car. Get in, he shouted. Zara jumped into the seat, and he sped off. They'll try to track you, he said, eyes on the rearview mirror. Who are they? She asked, breathless. Elias replied gravely. Agents of the system. People who think they're doing the right thing, but they're trapped in the illusion. They don't know they're pawns in a bigger game. Zara glanced back and saw two men leaving her building, cold eyes, calculated movements. It was real. All of it was real. The car raced through the glowing streets, but Zara felt like she was plunging deeper into darkness. Why is this happening to me? She asked, almost in tears. Elias looked at her. Because you chose the truth, and truth always threatens those who live by lies. Zara clutched the Bible like a shield. I don't know if I can do this, she confessed. Elias answered firmly. You can, but remember, this fight isn't just against men, it's against forces that want to keep you blind. They arrived at an abandoned warehouse where Elias parked. This is safe, for now, he said, locking the door behind them. Zara looked around. Screens, cables, maps. It felt like a resistance hub. How many know about this? She asked. Elias sighed. Few. Most prefer the comfort of illusion. But you chose to see. Zara felt a mix of fear and pride. It was like carrying a heavy burden, and a mission at the same time. Suddenly, one of the screens lit up with a chilling message. You can't hide. We know who you love. Zara's blood ran cold. Stephanie, she whispered. Elias looked at her, serious. They'll try to use your ties against you, threaten, deceive, but don't believe it. It's all part of the game. Zara took a deep breath, fighting panic. What if something happens to her? Elias placed a hand on her shoulder. You can't save everyone now. First, you need to save yourself. Zara closed her eyes, searching for strength. She remembered the prayer she had said and the words she read. The truth sets you free, but first it confronts you. Maybe this was the confrontation. Not just with the system, but with her own fears. When she opened her eyes, Elias stood before her, holding a new device. This is the next step, he said. It'll take you to the system's core. But once you enter, you won't fight just codes. You'll fight voices, illusions, everything you believe is real. And if I don't come back? She asked softly. Elias gave a sad smile. Then you'll be freer than ever. Zara held the device, feeling the symbolic weight it carried. It was like standing at the edge of the greatest battle of her life, a battle she couldn't win alone. I'll try, she said firmly. Elias nodded. Don't try, trust. And in that moment, Zara understood her fight wasn't just against an invisible system. It was against everything that kept her from believing. Before starting, Elias led her to a smaller room, lit by a single lamp. You need to know something, he said gravely. The system won't just try to scare you. It'll try to seduce you. It'll use your memories, your desires, your pain. It'll make you think you're choosing right when you're really going back to prison. Zara swallowed hard. How will I know what's real? Elias answered. You won't know with your eyes, you'll know with faith. Zara put on the headset, and for a moment, everything went dark. Then lights began to form, creating images too real to be mere projections. She saw Stephanie smiling, inviting her for coffee. She saw her mother, hugging her like in childhood. She saw a perfect life, no fear, no struggle. And a soft voice whispered, You can go back, just say yes. Tears welled up in Zara's eyes. It was tempting, but deep down, she knew it was a trap. "I won't give up," she said firmly. The voice laughed, cold and sharp. "Then prepare to suffer." The screen shifted, showing a sequence of codes pulsing like a heartbeat. Elias spoke, serious. "This is the first test. If you can decode it, you'll open the first door. But it's not just logic, it's faith. Because without faith, you won't see the way." Zara took a deep breath, feeling like she was stepping into a battle that wasn't just technological, but spiritual. She began typing, trying to break the patterns. Each line felt like a riddle, each command a trap. The voice kept whispering, trying to distract her. "You're alone. No one will save you." Zara paused for a moment, closed her eyes, and prayed, "God, give me strength." When she opened them, something had changed. The codes started to align, forming a phrase. "The truth is in the one who created everything." Zara smiled, feeling an unexpected peace, because in that moment, she understood. She wasn't fighting alone, but the peace didn't last. The lights in the room began to flicker, and a metallic sound echoed through the warehouse. Elias ran to the door. "They found us," he said urgently. Zara ripped off the headset, her heart racing. "What do we do?" Elias looked at her, serious. "Now comes the hardest part, surviving." And in that instant, Zara realized the fight for truth wasn't just spiritual, it was physical, and it was about to begin. Chapter 7. The Price of Freedom. The metallic sound echoed through the warehouse as Elias locked the door with quick, sharp movements. "They're close," he said gravely. Zara felt her heart race. Every second felt like a warning that something terrible was about to happen. "How did they find us?" she asked, trying to control the panic. Elias didn't look at her. "The system always finds those who break the rules. But don't worry about that now. Worry about surviving." Suddenly, a deafening crash shook the walls. Zara crouched down, clutching the Bible against her chest like a shield. Elias ran to a table and grabbed a small weapon, but didn't hand it to her. "This isn't your fight," he said firmly. "Your weapon is different." Zara glanced at the device still connected to the laptop. "I can't just run," she whispered. Elias turned, his eyes piercing. "Running isn't an option, but understand this. The system will break you inside before it touches you outside." The lights went out, plunging the warehouse into darkness. Voices began to echo, not from the door, but inside Zara's mind. "You can't save anyone. You'll lose everything." She squeezed her eyes shut, trying to block them out. "God, help me," she whispered. But the voices grew louder. "Stephanie is in danger, and it's your fault." Zara felt her throat tighten. "Elias, they know about Steph," she said, trembling. He nodded grimly. "I know, and they'll use that against you." Before she could react, one of the screens lit up with an image that stole her breath. Stephanie, tied to a chair, eyes wide with fear. A message appeared. "Choose, return to the system, or she suffers." Zara rushed to the screen, pressing her hands against the glass as if she could reach her friend. "Is this real?" she cried. Elias answered firmly, "Real enough to make you quit, but it's a trap. If you go back, you lose everything, including her." Tears streamed down Zara's face. "I can't let this happen," Elias added. "She's safe for now. Trust, not what you see, but what you believe." Elias gripped her shoulders. "Listen to me, Zara. The system wants to break you. It wants to use your pain to control you. But you have to trust, not in what you see, but in what you believe." Zara took a deep breath, searching for strength. But Stephanie's image looked so real, so close. What if I choose wrong? Elias locked eyes with her. There's no wrong choice when you choose the truth, but it will hurt. It will hurt a lot. Footsteps thundered toward the warehouse. Elias ran to the door, but before leaving he said, "If they break in, don't hesitate. Finish what you started." Zara looked at the device, the Bible, the screen with Stephanie. It felt like standing between two worlds, one she knew and one calling her. "I can't lose her," she whispered. But deep down, she knew she was already losing something bigger, the illusion of control. The door exploded, and armed men stormed in. Elias fought back, but there were too many. Zara crouched behind a table, shielding the device. One of the men shouted, "Hand it over and no one gets hurt." Zara shut her eyes, heart pounding. Then she remembered the words she read. "The truth sets you free, but first it confronts you." Maybe this was the final confrontation, not with weapons, but with faith. She connected the device and put on the headset, ignoring the chaos around her. The screen went black, and a phrase appeared. "Last door, last chance." Images flashed, not just of the city, but of Stephanie smiling, hugging her, saying, "Come back, Zara. Everything can be like before." It was tempting. It was cruel. And deep down, it was exactly what the system wanted. "I won't give up," she said firmly. The voice laughed, cold and sharp. "Then prepare to lose everything." The screen shifted, showing a sequence of codes pulsing like a heartbeat. Elias shouted in the background, but Zara didn't hear. She was deep inside the system's core, fighting something she couldn't see. Every line of code felt like a trap, every command a choice. And deep down, she knew she wasn't fighting just for herself. She was fighting for Stephanie, for Elias, for everyone still blind. Suddenly, a sharp sound cut through the chaos. Zara ripped off the headset and saw Elias lying on the floor, wounded. "No!" she screamed, running to him. Elias gripped her hand, his smile faint. "Don't stop. Finish what you started." Tears blurred her vision. "I can't leave you." Elias squeezed her hand. "You're not leaving me. You're setting me free." And with one last breath, he closed his eyes. Zara fell to her knees, pain tearing through her chest. This was the loss she feared, and now it was real. But deep down, she knew Elias was right. The fight couldn't stop. She rose, tears streaming down her face, and put the headset back on. "God, give me strength," she whispered. And in that moment, something changed. The codes began to align, forming a phrase. "The truth is in the one who created everything." Zara smiled through her tears, because in that instant, she understood freedom has a price, and she was willing to pay it. Chapter 8. The Truth That Sets You Free. Zara placed the headset on with trembling hands, feeling the weight of her decision. Elias lay behind her, his last words echoing like a command. "Don't stop. Finish what you started." She took a deep breath, ignoring the pain tearing through her chest. When the screen went black, a phrase appeared, cold and final. "Welcome to the core." It was like stepping through a door with no return. The space around her transformed into an infinite void, illuminated by streams of code floating like constellations. Each character pulsed as if alive, glowing with a crimson light that seemed to breathe. At the center stood a colossal tower made of data, rising like a monument to control. Zara shivered. This was it, the heart of the system, the place where everything was decided, and where she had to win. Suddenly, a voice echoed, soft as honey, but dripping with poison. "You've come far, Zara, but you can still go back. Just say yes." Images appeared around her. Stephanie smiling, Elias alive, a perfect life without fear, without struggle. It was tempting. It was cruel. "All this can be yours," the voice whispered. "Career, friends, peace. Just give up." Zara closed her eyes, trying to block it out, but the images felt so real they hurt. "I won't give up," she said firmly. The voice laughed, sharp and cold. "Then prepare to lose everything." The images shattered, and the tower began to pulse violently. Lines of code twisted into digital serpents, slithering toward her. Zara stepped back, but remembered Elias's words. "Don't fight with fear, fight with faith." She opened the Bible beside her and began to read aloud. "You will know the truth, and the truth will set you free." The serpents hesitated, as if those words carried power. Zara felt a strength that wasn't hers, but came from above. "God, help me," she whispered. Then, a light appeared behind her, piercing the darkness. The voice grew harsher. "You can't win. You're just a pawn," Zara answered, steady. "I'm not a pawn. I'm free." And at that moment, the codes began to align, forming a phrase. "The truth is in the one who created everything." The tower started to crack, but not without resistance. Explosions of data roared like thunder, and every fragment revealed faces, people trapped, like Stephanie, like her co-workers. Zara's heart clenched. "I can't save everyone," she murmured. But another voice, gentle, firm, answered. "You don't need to save everyone. You need to show the way." It felt like Elias speaking through the light. Then, a massive shadow rose behind the tower, bigger than anything Zara had ever seen. It was the system's core, the essence of control. "You can't destroy me," the voice roared, deafening. "I am fear. I am doubt. I am everything that keeps you chained." Zara swallowed hard, but didn't retreat. "You're not everything," she said firmly, "because there is someone greater." And with that, she typed the final command, guided not by logic, but by faith. The core began to collapse, screaming in a sound that pierced the void. Lights exploded, and Zara was thrown backward, as if ripped from a nightmare. When she opened her eyes, she was back in the warehouse, gasping for breath, the shattered headset beside her. Silence filled the room, except for the sound of her own heartbeat. Elias was gone, but his mission was complete, at least part of it. Zara looked at the laptop screen. A single phrase glowed. "Freedom achieved, but the battle continues." Tears welled up, mingled with a faint smile. Because in that moment, she understood. Truth isn't just information, it's transformation. And her journey was far from over. Because if she could see, now she had to help others see too. Chapter 9. The Final Battle. The Awakening After the Fall. Zara opened her eyes slowly. The warehouse was silent, except for the distant sound of sirens. The broken headset lay beside her like a symbol of the war she had just fought. But she knew this wasn't the end. It was only the beginning. The phrase on the laptop screen still pulsed. Freedom achieved, but the battle continues. And deep down, she felt it. Because even after destroying the core, the system wouldn't give up so easily. She stood up, her body heavy, her mind exhausted. Every step felt like a superhuman effort. Her eyes fell on the spot where Elias had collapsed, and a sharp pain pierced her chest. "I promise I won't let this be in vain," she whispered, clutching the Bible tightly. It was all she had now, and somehow, it was all she needed. But before she could think about her next move, a metallic sound came from the entrance. They were back. The final attack. The warehouse door exploded, and armed men stormed in, their eyes cold, their movements calculated. Zara ran to hide behind a stack of boxes, her heart pounding. "Hand over the device," one of them shouted, but she knew she couldn't. Because that device wasn't just technology. It was the key to freeing others. And if it fell into the system's hands, everything would be lost. Suddenly, a voice echoed through the warehouse, amplified by a speaker. "Zara, you don't have to suffer. Just come back. Just give up." It was the same seductive voice she had heard in the core, now louder, more persuasive. Images appeared on the surrounding screens. Stephanie smiling, Elias alive, a perfect life. "All this can be yours," the voice whispered. "Career, friends, peace. Just say yes." Zara closed her eyes, trying to block it out. But the images felt so real they burned. "I won't give up," she said firmly. The voice laughed, cold and sharp. "Then prepare to lose everything." The men advanced, and Zara sprinted toward the back exit. Every step was a fight, against fear, against doubt, against pain. But deep down, she knew she wasn't alone. Because even in the chaos, she felt a greater presence, something she couldn't see, but could feel. The spiritual showdown, Zara burst out of the warehouse and ran through the dark streets, the men chasing close behind. The icy wind cut her face, but she didn't stop. "God, help me," she whispered, clutching the Bible against her chest. Suddenly, a light appeared ahead, a church, old and silent. It felt like a sign. Without thinking, she ran inside and slammed the door shut. The stillness of the church contrasted with the chaos outside. Zara fell to her knees before the altar, tears streaming down her face. "I can't do this alone," she said, her voice breaking. "Give me strength." The voices returned, now inside her mind. "You're alone. No one will save you." But deep down, another voice, gentle, firm, answered, "I am with you." Zara felt an unexpected peace, even with danger at the door. She stood, wiped her tears, and looked at the cross. "I'd choose the truth," she said firmly. And in that moment, something changed. The church doors burst open, and the men entered. But Zara didn't retreat, because she knew the battle wasn't just physical. It was spiritual. The victory that costs everything. The men advanced, but before they could touch her, the church lights exploded in a blinding glow. Zara felt a force that didn't come from her, but from above. The aggressive voices fell silent, and the images vanished. The system was losing. Because in that moment, Zara understood that true freedom wasn't about destroying codes. It was about trusting. And she trusted. When it was over, Zara stood alone in the church, breathless, tears streaming down her face. Silence filled the room, broken only by her own heartbeat. She looked at the Bible and smiled through the tears, because she knew she had won, not because she was strong, but because she believed. But she also knew the journey wasn't over, because if she could see, now she had to help others see too. And deep down, one question echoed. How many will choose the truth when everything seems lost? Chapter 10. When Everything Comes. Full circle. The silence after the storm, Zara remained kneeling before the altar for several minutes, feeling the weight of the battle she had just fought. The stillness of the church contrasted with the chaos she had endured. It was as if the world had paused so she could breathe. But deep down, she knew there was no time for rest. Because if she had seen the truth, now she carried a responsibility to help others see it too. She walked out of the church slowly, clutching the Bible against her chest. The sky was beginning to brighten, announcing a new day. But for Zara, it was more than that. It was a new beginning. Every ray of dawn felt like a sign of hope, even after so much pain. Elias was gone, but his words echoed like a guide. Don't stop. Show the way. and she knew she had to honor that. The return to the ordinary world. The streets of Manhattan were alive, as if nothing had happened. People rushed by, glued to their screens, trapped in routines that seemed so programmed. Zara looked at them with a mix of sadness and determination. Because now she saw the cracks in the system, and knew that every rehearsed smile hid an invisible prison. But she also knew she couldn't just shout the truth. She had to find a way to reach hearts. She returned to her apartment, wrecked from the attack. She picked up the laptop, still glowing with the phrase, "Freedom achieved, but the battle continues." She sat down and began to write, not code, but words, stories. Because she realized the best weapon against lies wasn't force, it was truth shared. And so, her mission was born. To create messages that sparked questions, shattered illusions, and lit up minds. The first seed days later, Zara met Stephanie at a cafe. Her friend was shaken, but alive. "You disappeared," Stephanie said, tears in her eyes. Zara held her hand. "I had to fight for something bigger." Stephanie frowned. "Bigger than what?" Zara smiled, her eyes shining differently now. "For truth, for freedom, for family, not just for me, for all of us." They talked for hours, and little by little, Stephanie began to sense there was more than what she saw. Not because Zara explained everything, but because she asked the right questions. And that was just the beginning. Zara started gathering people willing to question. She created groups, meetings, conversations. Each word was a seed planted in fertile soil. Some didn't grow, but others did, strong and ready to break the system's walls. And so, the resistance began to take shape, not with weapons, but with faith, courage, and truth. Elias's legacy. One quiet night, Zara returned to the ruined warehouse. Among the debris, she found a notebook filled with Elias's notes. Inside was a letter. "Zara, if you're reading this, it means you chose the truth. Never forget, the greatest victory isn't destroying the system. It's teaching others to trust the Creator. Keep going. For me, for everyone." Zara closed her eyes as tears fell. "I promise, Elias," she whispered. "I'll keep going." She understood Elias hadn't died in vain. He left a legacy, and she was part of it. Zara decided she wouldn't just survive. She would lead. She would be a voice showing that there's something greater than fear, doubt, and control. And in that moment, she made a promise. "I'll keep going until everyone sees." Because she knew the battle wasn't just against an invisible system. It was against everything that keeps people from believing, when everything comes full circle. Months later, Zara walked through the same streets where it all began. But now, she wasn't the same. Every step carried purpose. Every glance searched for chances to plant seeds of truth. The system was still there. Strong, seductive, but so was Zara. Stronger, freer, more determined. Because she understood that true victory isn't destroying the enemy, it's transforming hearts. She stopped in front of a store window, where a bright ad promised instant happiness. She smiled, remembering who she used to be. And in that moment, she realized everything had come full circle, but she was no longer the same, because she chose the truth. And when someone chooses the truth, nothing can ever be the same. Zara took a deep breath, looked up at the sky, and whispered, "Thank you." Then she grabbed her phone and sent a message to Stephanie. "It's time. Let's begin." Because she knew the resistance wasn't just hers, it belonged to everyone who dared to believe. Conclusion. The truth that transforms. Zara walked through the city streets, now with different eyes. Everything looked the same, bright ads promising instant happiness, people rushing to meet deadlines, rehearsed smiles, but she knew nothing was the same. Because when someone chooses the truth, the world doesn't change, but you do. And that changes everything. Freedom begins at home, in the bonds that unite us and the faith that sustains us. Because when we choose truth, we don't just change our own lives, we change generations. Zara's journey wasn't about destroying codes or defeating invisible enemies. It was about conquering herself, about facing fears, doubts, and beliefs that kept her chained, about understanding that the greatest prison has no walls. It has roots inside the mind and heart. And the key to escape isn't strength or intelligence. It's faith. Faith in something greater. Faith in the one who created everything. Now, the question isn't what Zara did. The question is, what will you do? Because just like her, you live in a system that tries to distract you, seduce you, and keep you chained with comfort. Maybe not with codes, but with illusions. And deep down, you know, there's something greater. There's a truth that sets you free. But it doesn't come without confrontation. Are you willing to pay the price? Are you willing to choose light when everything feels dark? Subscribe to Good Stories today, turn on notifications, and share this with someone who needs to hear it. Here, you'll find emotional stories. Stories that inspire. Stories that make you think. Stories to listen to while driving, working, or simply reconnecting with who you are. This story ends here, for now, but yours begins now. Because truth isn't just information, it's transformation. And only those who choose to see can truly live. So take a deep breath, look inside and ask, what's holding me back? Maybe it's fear, maybe it's doubt, maybe it's the illusion of control. But remember, you're not alone. You never were. And when you choose the truth, you'll discover that freedom is worth every tear. See you in the next story.